This is Eric Martin with Board Game Geek. I'm here with Nick Little from Indie Boards and Cards looking at Exodus Paris Nouveau by Martin Wallace. I did not expect to see a Martin Wallace name on a social deduction game in this universe. It's a little surprising.
Yeah, you were shocked, right?
Yes, how did this come about?
Well, this is his first real social deduction game. He has another game or two with very light social deduction elements to it. But yeah, he contacted us. He wanted to make a game for us, and he had a really interesting idea. The first couple of iterations he brought to us, we were like, change these things. And the third iteration he got to us was almost exactly what we ended up with.
Okay.
So he really struck gold with us. So yeah, the dystopian universe. So this is akin to Coup and Resistance, the next game in that line. This game is very similar to Resistance in that you're playing on teams, but you don't know who's on your team at the start of the game.
Okay.
I say this is a little more mechanically heavier than Resistance, but not super heavy, so it's more of a gamer's Resistance, I guess. You get a little bit more player agency because of it when you do in Resistance. But anyway, so how you play the game is divided into two phases, essentially. In the first phase, you're going to be voting on a leader. And in the second phase...
This is for the whole group. Because, of course, you don't know...
Right, you don't know who is who.
Okay.
So in that phase, everybody's going to start with 10 voting tokens.
Okay.
Everybody's going to take all of them, put them in their hand, their left hand, put them under the table, move some over to their right hand, and lift them up like this. So you're secretly choosing how many votes you want to use.
Okay.
You turn them over, and then based on who was the leader last round, so let's say it was you, starting to the left, will place their votes for who they want to be leader. Right?
Okay. Not for you.
They can vote for you.
Oh.
They can vote for themselves. They can vote for anybody they want.
Okay.
So once you figure out who's on your team, it might be better for them to be leader than for you.
Right.
So whoever has the most votes is going to be leader. They'll take the leader button.
Okay. Nick's now the leader.
Okay. The leader then chooses who they want to be Tail and Charlie. Okay. So what's going to happen is the leader is going to play a card for the good guys. Tail and Charlie is going to play a card for the bad guys.
Okay.
Whether or not they are good or bad.
Okay.
So at the beginning of the game, we were dealt identity cards. And we've already dealt one over here to the muscle character. And the rescuers, so we're all part of this team we're basically rescuers who are trying to save refugees that are trapped in Paris Nouveau, kind of an urban war state, right? So some of us have been bribed by the government to capture them instead. So those are the hunters, right?
Okay.
So our job is to get in, get as many people as we can, and get out before we get caught by the actual hunters that are coming after us. And the people in our group that are with the hunters are trying to help them. Okay. So there are several ways for the hunters to win. First of all, the cards have 4 different values on them. So they have a distance value. So this is how far you're moving when you play the card.
Okay. Zoom in more to see that.
Okay. They have a victory point value.
They zoom. Okay.
This is basically how many people you're saving.
Okay.
This is whether or not you're taking a damage when you play the card. And this is whether or not we lose a cover when you play the card.
Okay.
So,
which will make the other hunters right quickly.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you start the game with 6 cover tokens. If you ever run out of cover tokens, the hunters win the game.
Okay.
You start the game with 5 distance, and then you add to your distance by all these numbers here. Mm-hmm. And if the bottom row, the hunter's cards, ever have more distance than your total distance, the hunters have fought you, and they win.
Okay. So we're just doing one mission. That's all that's being represented in the game. We're not doing a series of rescue missions.
We're doing one rescue mission, and this is like how far we move and how many people we get.
Okay.
Okay. So the ways that, and then if you run out of life, your team loses the game.
Okay.
Makes sense,
Yeah, that's pretty clear.
You start with 2 life points, so the game is very tight on how much damage you can take. But anyway, so how you play is you've elected a leader. Everybody has a hand of 2 distance cards.
Okay.
Starting with the person to the left of the leader, they're going to look at their hand, they're going to submit a card, and then they're going to say something about it.
Okay.
And they can lie, they can say whatever they want, right? So I'm going to say this one has great distance, but nothing else, right? Which I'm actually telling the truth because it just has distance and literally nothing else on it.
Okay.
Right, so everyone's going to do that, submit cards, which of course I was the leader here, so we'll say everyone else submitted cards.
Right.
I, as the leader, can also submit a card. But now, based on the information that was given to me, I have to pick 3 of these. I take 1 card from the top.
Okay.
I shuffle them up. I bury 1. And then I'm going to look and play one of these for the good guys.
Okay.
Okay. So if I'm a good guy, I'm trying to play the best card that benefits us. If I'm a bad guy, I'm trying to play the worst card. And of course, since we can lose...
Those are terrible combinations there.
Some of them are, yeah. And especially like if I've already taken a damage and I only have 1 life left, I have to play this card.
Yes.
This card is not actually bad for the good guys because I don't take damage, we don't lose cover, we're just not scoring any points, but it's got very good distance. This card's actually pretty decent for us.
Okay.
But the cards are set up in a way because you only have 2 life, you don't want to take damage, right? So even if I saw a really good card, I might not want to play it because it has an injury on it. Half the cards have injury, half the cards have cover loss, etc. So once I play the card, it goes up here next to where the rescuer cards go. I put the other cards face down, nobody else gets to see them. Okay. And then the tail end Charlie.
But you get, in theory, some measure of information.
Right.
You don't know who said what, but you try to correlate.
Right, like if
what
you said
see versus what you heard.
Yeah. Like if you said I have
lots of stuff going on there.
Yeah, it sounds more complicated than it is. When you start to play it, it makes a lot of sense, right? But if you're like, I have a really good card, it does this and this, and I put my card in, and I shuffle them up, and I discard them. I go, I don't see in here what you said. You're like, well, it must have been discarded, and then like I know though that my card got discarded because I know that I submitted one.
Right.
So you can kind of track some of that information.
Okay.
So you start to get aroused suspicions, right? Yep. Well, and then I'm like, I am suspicious of you, so I'm going to make you tail end Charlie, like the next time I'm leader. So you draw 2 cards off the top, and you're going to play one.
Okay.
So if you're the bad guy, you want to play this probably because it has the cover loss, right?
Right.
This one might be fine if you don't want to take damage, but whatever, right? So you're like, okay, these are both bad for us. So then you play this, and then like we lose another cover, we get closer to losing, etc. But the fact that you're only drawing 2 cards and half of them have cover loss means that there's a 25% chance that you just had to play that anyway. So the deck is composed of overall not great cards for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And as the game plays out, sometimes distance becomes more important, sometimes it's less important. Same with cover, same with damage. So you got the weight of the value of the cards constantly fluctuates as you play.
Okay. And now we each have identity cards
yes.
as well with powers. Is that optional?
Yeah.
Or?
No, you play with these.
You always play with them.
They have smaller effects that kind of affect what's going on. So one of them you start with 2 extra bid tokens, right?
Okay.
One of them's like you have a hand of 3 cards instead of 2. So they're not going to define your strategy. They're going to be generally useful no matter what you do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there we go.
Yeah. There we go.
There. All right, and then you will undoubtedly shuffle and play again.
Yes.
As seems to be the nature for a lot of what you do.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Review Exodus Paris Nouveau.